Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Doujinshi's𓗗𝓮𝓷𝓽𝓪𝓲 back at it again with another episode of Hentai Reviews, the series where we review one episode of every hentai we can find, stretching out as long as we can because I like doing this and I don't want to go by too quickly. And I'm definitely not re-recording this because some fucking microphones decide not to work. Let's go ahead and skip past that little shit face and let's go ahead and move on to the review. Starting out with episode 2 of a series called Triple Ecchi, of which maybe you may not be familiar, but Triple Ecchi overall is a series that starts with a strong start from our first episode that we did review just a little bit ago, and going on into an anthology series where they start focusing on different things and different stories throughout the rest of the series. Episode 2 picks up with our boys Mary Jane introducing this little bitch. Moving on to 16 minutes and 15 seconds long, overall pretty short when it comes to it, with 7 categories. Now, I don't need to tell you that 7 categories is too short, but if anybody says 5 is average, trust me, they're just trying to prop up their own ego. Speaking from my 6.5 categories, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Notable tags are Virgin, POV, and Cream Pie. Okay, that one I seriously was, stretching it out, because these don't seem that interesting to me, and I honestly can't figure out what I'd use them for. But, tags, if somebody's into them, they're here. Moving on, this boy starts out immediately at scene number 1, stretching from 20-second mark to 2 minutes and 40 seconds in. Pretty decent length overall, and starting out pretty fast with the word Oni-chan being thrown around a lot. And this really isn't anything necessary to the script or anything necessary to it, I just feel like bringing it up. The girl in the situation's name is Konami, and it feels pretty funny watching Konami get fucked. Looking at you, Resident Evil 3 Remake, you disappointing ass motherfucker. Now it starts out that it turns out it was all just a dream, and this entire thing was just focused around a guy realizing that the friend that lives across the hall, who he has been friends with the entire time, who is definitely not related in any way, shape, or form, but still calls him Oni-chan because some people have that weird fetish, and some girls... Do girls in Japan just call their really good friends Oni-chan? Because over here, we don't call our fucking friend's brother. I've never seen anybody do that. So Japan, you've got a little bit of explaining to do. But let's go ahead and move on. She is a friend of his who cooks and helps out along the side, who has a big old boobies on each side. They're just large tatas. And he's into that, as most guys are. Some basic ass motherfuckers thinking that boobs are all that makes a woman. They have personality in their ass as well. Let's go ahead and move on before I say something that's going to get me in trouble. But let's go ahead and continue. That she falls asleep with her boobs resting against the table that they're sitting on after she made a delicious meal. And women, do you ever do that where you just fall asleep and nothing's touching the table but your boobs is that propping you up? Does that hurt your boobs? That seems like it should hurt. Because, if I fall asleep on my ass too long, then my ass hurts. Do you guys use baby powder for that? I have a lot of questions I feel like I need to ask a really good friend. Too bad I don't have that. Too bad I don't have a really good female friend who I can ask weird questions like that. But let's go ahead and move on. Which leads into the guy seeing this display of being able to prop herself up with her own breasts, and decides that it's his perfect time to sneak a grab and get a little handsy, of which case it's revealed that she was never asleep the entire time he was getting his grope on. Starting scene 2, which lasts from 7 minutes and 30 seconds into 10 minutes and 10 seconds. Decent length overall. And, after getting down and dirty with her, and of which case has already happened in his dream, he wakes up again, realizing that, was it all just a dream? Turns out it wasn't. Turns out she's right next to him right there, and he passed out like a little bitch after getting laid once. What stamina do you have where you pass out? Legit pass out after sex? Hey, alright, takes all kinds of flavors, and apparently weak-ass bitch is a flavor. He wakes up and gets immediately back into it, leading from scene 3, which starts at the 11-minute mark and goes all the way to the 13-minute and 20-second mark. Decent length overall, and it goes ahead and ends there with the main characters being a lot more friendly than they should be, even though somebody groped you while they thought you were asleep. Restraining orders are in order, but if you're into that, you're into that, and I'm not here to judge, only to file. Now, let's go ahead and get into the 3 pillars that hold up any review. Cue that shitty-ass intro. Thank you very much for the low budget. Now, starting out, we are with animation. Animation overall for it is pretty good, but there are some caveats that you see here every once in a while. A speed-up technique, which is where they'll take the sex scene and they'll speed it up at a certain point to give it a sort of false sense of dynamacy that kind of doesn't do much if you're looking at it. And overall, they only do that once or twice throughout the entire thing, and the animation itself isn't that bad. Let's go ahead and give it a 6 out of 10. Not bad, but definitely above passing. And let's go ahead and move on to then characters. Characters being the actual plot of the entire thing, whether or not I'm invested in them as much as my lower body part is invested in everything else. And I gotta firmly say that these characters are PNG files of porn stars. They do not have any defining personality in them whatsoever. They are bland as fuck. If you licked a block of flour, you would taste more than they have to offer. I'm going to give them a 3 out of 10. The fact that they're there, and the fact that they have tropes that they can rely on gives them those 3 points. But other than that, they are damn near... The only reason I call them flawless is because there's nothing there to have flaws. But let's go ahead and move on to our final reason, the real reason we're all here. The plot. And I wouldn't say it's very diversified in what it does have. 7 categories is really the smallest we've ever had on this show, at least at the moment. And they're not really diverse categories. There's no, like, surprise fetish thrown in at a certain point. It's pretty much missionary sex with a childhood friend. Doesn't really get any much further past that, but from what it is there, it's decent. It's kind of like bad pizza. Even the bad ones, still pretty good. And I'd like to say that that firmly earns its spot with a 6 out of 10 on what it does have. Overall, let's go ahead and rank this episode by what it is. In the entirety of it, I'd say it is a solid average is as average does at 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5 across the board. And I can firmly say that this is definitely the lesser of the 2 episodes, but it's kind of hard to follow up on what the first episode was. First episode being a personal favorite of mine, or at least something that I can come back to a lot and realize that this really did age pretty well with what I've grown up into. A strong young man who has a lot of fetishes. But overall, I'd like to thank everybody that's come here. I'd like to thank my patients for being here from start to finish, and I'd like to thank everybody else for at least coming along for the ride. I will be continuing this series until we've finished out. There's only about 2 more episodes left to go, and then I'll be mixing in Futabu as long as I'm doing that, and once I get finished with both of those, or if I get done with one and I still have the other to work on, I'll then be lumping in a lot of the episodes of Redo of a Healer. Even though I know that Redo of a Healer isn't exactly a hentai, but it is on the hentai site, and I feel like that warrants its own discussion. But until then, I have been the Doctor, and I will see you guys later. Wash your hands, have a nice day. Wait, let me rephrase that. Have a nice day. Don't be a dick, there's too many of them, and wash your fucking hands. I've been the Doctor. Peace.